Next for the Congress Patriarch. But first, as always, it's time for the 9 headlines at 9. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Middle East's largest Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. Modi calls Mandir inauguration a golden chapter in the history of India-UAE ties. Farmers continue to be on the warpath. Violent clashes rage on at Delhi's border. Centre urges for a dialogue. Round 3 of talks tomorrow at 5 p.m. Bengal's Sandesh Khali women claim absconding TMC Neta Shahjahan Sheikh and his aides abducted and raped women. BJP hits the streets in protest. Trinamool says BJP politicizing crime against women. Enforcement Directorate summons Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal again. Kejriwal asked to appear for the 6th time on 19th of February. 5-time Lok Sabha MP Sonia Gandhi files her Rajya Sabha nomination from Rajasthan. Big buzz over whether Priyanka Gandhi Vadra may now contest from Rai Bareli. Amid buzz over whether NCP Pawar faction could join hands with the Congress, NCP Patriarch Pawar meets party cadre. Supriya Sule says Congress merger claim baseless. Shocking assault in Madhya Pradesh's Betul. Tribal man stripped, hung from ceiling, beaten brutally. Accused held after assault video goes viral. More trouble for Paytm. Enforcement Directorate registers a case against Paytm Payments Bank over FEMA violations. Pakistan People's Party agrees to support Nawaz Sharif's PMLN with Shehbaz Sharif as the new Prime Minister. Imran Khan supporters continue to protest alleged rigging in Pakistan polls. But to our top story and our breaking news at this moment, the centre farmer talks now will enter a round 3 tomorrow to try and break the impasse which has led farmers to protest in and around the national capital. Farmer union leaders will meet government representatives once again in Chandigarh. 3 ministers, including the Agriculture Minister and the Commerce Minister, are expected to attend. This amidst the call for a Bharat Bandh by the farmer unions on Friday. So clearly, there is no immediate end in sight, but hopes of a dialogue and talks taking place in Chandigarh tomorrow to try and resolve that conflict. Remember, all of this is coming at the backdrop of the farmers' Delhi Chalo march, which again today witnessed clashes and violence near the national capital's border. While the deadlock over the farmers' demand for a minimum support price guarantee continues, the centre is urging for a dialogue with the protesting farmers. Will there be a consensus, or, as some are worried, are we heading for a Farmers 2.0 protest? It's our top story tonight.
Staying put at the Haryana-Punjab border, surrounded by heavy security. On the second day of the farmers' Delhi Chalo protest, attention remained centred around Shambhu border. Tear gas was sporadically deployed, echoing the prolonged protest at Singhu border in 2020-21. Farmers geared up for an extended stay at the heavily guarded Shambhu site along the Haryana border.
Just look at the smoke. Haryana police is continuously targeting the protesters and firing the tear gas shells. Just look at this tear gas shell which fell below the road where the farmers have gathered. Now the police is targeting the farmers who are standing in the middle of this field located on both sides of the national highway.
Employing a Desi anti-drone tactic. As Haryana police deployed UAVs over the protest area, farmers flew kites, hoping to ensnare police drones with their strings.
Innovative techniques being used on the ground to combat Haryana police. Now, yesterday we reported how drones were being used by Haryana police to drop tear gas shells. To combat that, the farmers are flying kites. They suggest that the flying kites will disturb the movement of the drones, and that's something that will give them a sort of relief.
Meanwhile, the Punjab government strongly condemned Haryana police's use of drones to dispense tear gas within Punjab's borders.
ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਟੋਟਲੀ ਗਲਤ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਜੰਗਲ ਰਾਜ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਅਨਾਰਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਹਰਿਆਣਾ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਉਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਡੀਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਐਜੀਟੇਸ਼ਨਾਂ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਇਹ ਕੋਈ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੰਨੀ ਐਕਸੈਸਿਵ ਫੋਰਸ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਰਤੋਗੇ। ਡਰੋਨਾਂ ਕਦੇ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਡਰੋਨਾਂ, ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨ ਇੱਕ ਘਰ ਹੈ, ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਡਰੋਨਾਂ ਯੂਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਕਦੇ ਦੇਖੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ? ਤਾਂ ਕਮਾਲ ਹੀ ਕਰ ਰੱਖੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ, ਸਭ ਬਹੁਤ ਗਲਤ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ।
Haryana authorities warned of escalating measures if peace is disrupted within the state.
और मुझे तो बहुत हैरानगी लग रही है कि पंजाब सरकार ने नोटिस जारी कराया कि हमारी सीमा में ड्रोन मत भेजो। ये हिंदुस्तान पाकिस्तान हो गया। और अमृतसर से ये जत्थे चले, आपने रास्ते में एक भी जगह रोकने की कोशिश नहीं की। इसका मतलब ये है कि आप दिल्ली को दहलाना चाहते हो।
Meanwhile, the broader Sanyukt Kisan Morcha assessed arrangements for its planned nationwide strike on Feb 16th. SKM leaders deliberated on Haryana police's action against protesting farmers. Another union announced intentions to halt train services for 4 hours in Punjab on Thursday to express solidarity with the demonstrators. Tear gas canisters continued to rain down on the Shambhu site as authorities attempted to disperse the protests.
ये इस वक्त जहां मैं मौजूद हूँ, ये शंभू बॉर्डर है। एक्सक्लूसिव तस्वीरें मैं आपको दिखा रहा हूँ। देखिए सामने की तरफ हरियाणा पुलिस और रैपिड एक्शन फोर्स के जवान मौजूद हैं, जबकि सामने की तरफ किसान मौजूद हैं और लगातार वहां से एक के बाद एक कई बार आंसू गैस के गोले वो छोड़े जा रहे हैं लगातार।
The central government urged farmers to keep dialogue channels open.
किसान संगठनों को यही कहूंगा कि किसी राजनीति से प्रेरित होकर नहीं, बल्कि किसान और किसान परिवारों की चिंता लगातार सरकार की है और करेगी। बल्कि हमें यह कोशिश करना चाहिए कि हम इसके सारे पक्षों का ध्यान रखें और उस पर चर्चा करें।
The farmers' protest stems from a deadlock over the demand for legislation guaranteeing minimum support prices for crops. Though progress has been achieved on various other agricultural issues raised by the farmers.
अभी बातें आ रही हैं कि सरकार बोल रही है कि ये जो एमएसपी खरीद की गारंटी का कानून है ये बन नहीं सकता इतनी जल्दी। जिन फसलों के ऊपर आप एमएसपी दे रहे हैं, पहले से अनाउंस करते हैं, कुछ की खरीद करते हैं, बाकियों की खरीद नहीं करते। हम तो इतना ही कह रहे हैं ना, उसके ऊपर लीगल गारंटी दे दीजिए भी उस एमएसपी से नीचे हमारी फसल ना बने। तो इसमें कमेटी का तो सवाल नहीं है।
Over 200 kilometers away, sealing of borders and extensive police barricades in New Delhi resulted in severe traffic congestion for a second consecutive day in the city. Meanwhile, at Shambhu border, protesters stood their ground, at least for now. Bureau Report, India Today.
Tonight, I'm going to be joined by two very special guests who I've spoken to about the entire issue of a minimum support price legal guarantee. The first special guest I have is Dr. Madhura Swaminathan, eminent economist at the Indian Social Institute in Bangalore and daughter of M.S. Swaminathan, who was conferred, remember, the Bharat Ratna only last week for his remarkable contributions to Indian agriculture, Indian Science Institute, I beg your pardon. I appreciate you joining me, Dr. Madhura Swaminathan. A video of yours has gone viral at an event organized to honor your late father who just got the Bharat Ratna last week. You have suggested that you are disappointed by reports that there are jails being prepared for farmers in Haryana, there are barricades, farmers are being tear gassed, and you've gone on to say in that video that's gone viral, these are farmers, annadata, these are not criminals. You want to expand on your feelings on how farmer protests are being dealt with by the centre?
Thank you, Rajdeep. Yesterday, the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, where the major part of my father's professional career was built, organized a memorial meeting for him. But it is, when I woke up in the morning, the news we got was a very different kind, as you mentioned, of the farmers who had started off from Punjab and were being blockaded. It's very distressing because I think food security for our country's food and nutrition security, the farmers are the key. Farmers, cultivators, agricultural workers. We have to negotiate with them. We have to understand their problems. And without a strong agriculture, this is also something my father used to say, it's very difficult to build a sovereign nation and to have a standing on the world stage. So indeed, it is distressing to see that in a situation where we know for the last decade or more, there's some problems which have been there for even longer, but there's no doubt that there's agrarian distress of different kinds in large parts of the country. And we need to address these. We need to address the problems of farmers.
So you're saying you find it extremely distressing that protesting farmers are being tear gassed. But in one of your interventions yesterday, ma'am, you also said, if we have to continue to honor the memory of Dr. Swaminathan, we have to take the farmers with us in whatever strategy we are planning for the future. And you presumably are also distressed as a result by the fact that protesting farmers today are often called by some within government organizations as anti-national. You will recall what they were called in 2020. Some were labeled Khalistanis. I guess this demonization of farmers is something that should be troubling.
I agree with you in that the farmers are protesting for a reason. And I think for me, was somebody who has studied the rural economy and poverty and inequality, unionizing is not a bad word. If you win, we won, for example, in India, the right to food, the National Food Security Act, that came about through protests of different kinds by combination of actors. So I think attending to the problems of farmers, to their incomes, to higher profits, giving them higher profits while assuring sustainability, while addressing the problems, the new and emerging problems with climate change, is something that we have to address. They're a very important part of our population. And I think it is if I may put it this way, it is perhaps the absence of policies that have improved farmer incomes that have finally resulted in mass protests of this kind. We have to address the root causes of the problem of inadequate incomes of farmers.
You're raising an important point, inadequate incomes of farmers. What you're saying, therefore, is you need a dialogue with farmers. You don't need tear gas fired on them. They're not criminals. And you need to find ways in which you can have this dialogue with them. The government says they've been trying. The government says for the longest time we've been trying to work out some kind of an agreement, but farmers, especially from Punjab, are adamant. They've been unionized, and therefore there is a political element involved, and that is what is causing the standoff.
I think, Rajdeep, the problems of agriculture in India and of agriculturists, of farmers, as I said, is long-standing. And if you read the reports of the National Commission on Farmers, not just the last one, and with the formula which has now become very well known throughout the country, the formula paying MSP as C2 plus 50%, but there's an analysis of the problems of land and land distribution, of credit, of new technology, of irrigation, and all these problems of agriculture are in fact today exacerbated by climate change. So agriculture is not static. There are changes that are happening. And I think various Indian governments have not paid adequate attention to all these problems and have not addressed the problems of farmers. So this is something that has been building up. And this is also, I think, addressing these problems also requires action on multiple fronts. It's not a question of we couldn't negotiate and so on. We have to work out strategies that will, as the second report of the Farmers Commission was titled, we have to work out a strategy for serving farmers and saving farming.
You know, you're saying this. You spoke about the Swaminathan Committee report and the formula C2 plus 50%. That's the costs involved, input costs, other costs, plus 50% over that as a minimum support price. Now, the government says, or government sources tell us, that's fiscally unsustainable. So do many economists. They believe that a legal guarantee for a minimum support price would result in food inflation and could result in a hit that the government exchequer could take up to 10 to 12,000 crore, 10 to 12 lakh crores per annum. How do you respond?
You know, I was a member of a committee chaired by the late Professor Abhijit Sen, the high-level committee on long-term grain policy, which was actually set up by Prime Minister Vajpayee. And that was the first time in our committee we proposed a statutory minimum support price. It's like a minimum wage. Unless there is some legal guarantee, how do you ensure that that wage is paid? So it was the first time that a statutory minimum support price was recommended in any committee or in any policy of India. The second point I want to make is that many economists argue that this is going to be too expensive, as they argued in the past about universal food subsidy. Now, the question we have to ask is too expensive for what? As you know, India's tax to GDP ratio is one of the lowest in the world. There are only a few countries which have a tax to GDP ratio lower than us. So I think to put forth a statement, as many neoliberal economists do, that you either spend in agricultural research, or you spend on irrigation, or you spend on minimum support price, because there is a limited kitty for agriculture and for farmers. I think that's a wrong way of posing the question. So I don't agree at all with this idea that it's not viable.
You know, let me end by asking you a slightly political question, ma'am. Dr. M.S. Swaminathan gets the Bharat Ratna last week, a well-deserved recognition for one of the architects of the Green Revolution. But there will be those who will say these recognitions mean very little. They're simply symbolic. The real challenge is, how do you make agriculture more sustainable, viable for millions of farmers in this country? That would be the way to pay a true tribute to Dr. Swaminathan. Do you agree that rather than giving someone a Bharat Ratna, what you really need is solutions that will make agriculture more viable and income sustainable in this country?
I don't know. He's not here, so I cannot answer for him. There are just two things I'd like to say. One is that earlier the Bharat Ratna was not posthumous. As you know, the Nobel Prizes are not posthumous. So recognizing an individual, I think, is very important in his or her lifetime. But I'd just like to end with, after the farmers' protest, the previous protests of 2020-21, the day that the free farm laws were repealed in Parliament, and I think it happened within a few minutes, he was so happy, and he put out a tweet on that day. He immediately, I was with him, and he said, please note this down. And he said, I'm very happy. And now, I forget the exact words, I'll send you the quote, but he said, now we have to sit down and think about how we address the issues of productivity, profitability, and sustainability.
That's right. Dr. Madhura Swaminathan, appreciate your joining us, in a way sensing what the mood within the Swaminathan family at least would be over farmers being tear-gassed in this manner, or protesters being tear-gassed in this manner. Now, we've heard from Dr. Swaminathan. Let's get another perspective. Professor Ashok Gulati is one of the country's leading agricultural economists, and he joins me now. Appreciate your joining us, Professor Gulati. You have been a supporter of not having a minimum income guarantee, and you and others have been writing that you believe that such a legal guarantee of a minimum support price would be financially unviable, is a bad idea, would end up in fiscal instability. On what basis are you arguing this? Why do you believe that a minimum support price would lead to fiscal chaos and financial instability if we gave it to the farmers of the country?
Let me further add that it can be anti-farmer. How? Normally the prices are decided by demand and supply. And if the MSP is made legal, the production, assume, of a particular commodity is 100, but the demand is 70, then what will happen? Nobody will touch the remaining 30. It will stay with the farmers. What will you do? What can they do? Because if I buy at a price lower than MSP, I may be put behind the bars if it is legal, right? So the issue is a simple understanding of a ninth grader who has studied demand and supply. When the prices are low, demand is high. When the prices are high, demand is low. And market has to clear. And if you don't understand this ABC, of basic economics, then I'm sorry. Demanding legal and implementing that all over the country for 23 commodities, to me, it's impossible.
But with due regard, Dr. Gulati, you would then end up leaving the farmers to the vagaries of the market and the monsoon. Farmers want some sense of reassurance, some kind of income security given to them, given the vagaries of monsoon and the market process. If sugar, for example, can have remunerative prices that governments decide, why can't farmers across these 23 crops also get a minimum support price? Why the hesitation?
Let me put the facts on the table. These 23 commodities constitute only 28% of the agriculture produce. That segment of agriculture which is flying high, fastest rate of growth, 8 to 9% per annum, is poultry. Is there an MSP for poultry products, eggs or poultry meat? Then is fishery, 7 to 8% rate of growth per annum for the last 10-15 years. Is there MSP? Milk, which is bigger than rice, wheat, pulses, sugarcane, all put together. Is there an MSP? It is growing between 5 to 6% per annum. 72% of agriculture is driven by market prices, not by MSP. Within MSP of 23 crops, real implementation of MSP is only in wheat and rice primarily, and that too in 5-6 states. You go to Bihar, for the last 50 years, their prices of paddy are 15 to 25% lower than MSP. So why don't you go and procure there? Now your other question, which is a concern, and I'm also concerned. Farmer faces two types of risks: nature's risk and market risk. For the nature's risk, there is a crop insurance. If you want to take advantage of that, but the companies that will do insurance, they are not doing charities. You have to pay premium, highly subsidized by the government, and they feel, oh, insurance companies are making money. Well, they have to make money if they have to be in business, but you and me insure our cars. Not that every day it will meet an accident, but whenever it meets, then you get the compensation for that. So that's how insurance operates. Same thing in case of prices. You have suspended the futures, which is one way to look at what the prices should be. You have banned exports. You have put stocking limits on the traders. You have unloaded things at a price lower than the economic cost, pushing the market prices to the MSP. So these are the problems. You have to get the markets right. You can't become a centralized economy where each and every commodity, there are more than 100 commodities. Why they should not get an MSP? Tell me that.
So that's an interesting argument, Dr. Gulati. I'll come also to the solutions that perhaps one can offer. But one of the criticisms that you and others have made is that the MSP guarantee in law will cost anything between 10 to 11 lakh crore rupees. There are others, though, likes of Yogendra Yadav, who are saying these are all exaggerated figures by the government, that these are assumptions being made. How do you respond? Is the government creating this fear? We give a legal guarantee, we'll be left with a huge burden on our exchequer. Is there a source on the basis of which these numbers are being thrown up?
That you ask the government. My simple question to whosoever is speaking about those things is, what sin as a milk farmer I have committed that I should not get a guarantee?
No.
All the commodities should get the same treatment. What is so special about these 23? Because they are being produced by these large farmers?
Sir, but do you believe that this is the actual figure? 11 lakh crores is what a legal MSP guarantee would cost. Do we actually have a figure at all?
You know, if the government has to purchase all these 23 commodities, it depends upon what the market price is. If the market price goes below that, only then the government will buy. And it can be, you know, at times 5% below, it can be 20% below, it can be 25% higher. So it will differ from year to year.
No.
And space, you know, it's lower in Bihar, but all the trains are coming of paddy from Bihar to sell in Punjab. Everybody knows that.
But Dr. Gulati, is the answer then? Let's look at solutions. The government surely can fine-tune a price stabilization scheme to ensure that market prices don't fall below a minimum guarantee level. Maybe that's one way to protect the farmer's income and and support him.
That's right. So that is what the solution could be. You can say the price stabilization fund. Actually, today they are using more for protecting the consumer than protecting the farmer. So that price stabilization fund could be 20,000 crores, and wherever the prices fall below, let's say, more than 10% below MSP, the government must act immediately. That pressure. But making it legal, you are asking even other traders not to touch it, because they will fear they can be put behind the bar, and that will become anti-farmer.
So what you're saying is, rather than focus on this legal guarantee, focus on fine-tuning a price stabilization scheme, a price stabilization fund that gives farmers protection and in a way protects them from the vagaries of markets and monsoons. Am I correct?
Yes, perfectly right. In fact, in my earlier incarnation with the government, that's what I had recommended at that time. And 5,000 crores were put for that. But they have been using that when the prices go high, they want to give to the consumer at a lower price. And that is covered under a price stabilization fund. The real purpose of that was, if the prices, like onion, you know, it can go to 5 rupees a kg and 50 rupees a kg. When it goes 50 rupees a kg, government wants to sell at 25 rupees a kg. But when it goes to 5 rupees, nobody comes forward. That's the time for the government to enter with that price stabilization fund.
Very interesting. Is it your view, therefore, that this demand, therefore, for a legal guarantee for MSP is basically being driven by large farmers from specific states who stand to gain, mainly wheat and rice farmers? It doesn't benefit majority of the farmers of the country. Is that what you're saying? That there is a large pool of farmers outside this MSP regime even now?
You look at all East India, east of Lucknow, they have been selling since the time Agriculture Prices Commission was set up in 1965. It's 59 years today. And they are always selling, go and check their paddy prices. They are 15 to 25% below MSP. Are they agitating and coming to Delhi?
So where does that...
Why don't you give them that? Go and establish a shop there.
Where does that leave, though, Dr. Gulati, the Swaminathan Commission recommendation, the formula that was devised, that the cost of inputs and other costs plus 50%, are you saying also that that's unviable in your view, and therefore you need to look at alternatives to just a C2 plus 50% formula?
Swaminathan committee has two recommendations on MSP, which these farmers are demanding. One is this legal thing that you are talking about. The other is it should be 50% over cost C2. That is the comprehensive cost. That means your owned land and owned capital, their imputed interest and imputed rent should also be counted as a cost, which means the MSP levels will go up by 25 to 30%. With all the due regard, and I have great respects for Dr. Swaminathan as a scientist, but I'm sorry, economics doesn't speak about that type of pricing. That will create a major chaos in the system. So as an economist, whatever little I know of demand and supply and how the markets function and how the economy functions, I think this will be throwing a spanner, not just in the agriculture sector, but in the entire economy.
But Dr. Gulati, multiple challenges then come out. One, as you've been saying, how do you raise farm incomes? The other is, how do you get farmers to move away from wheat and rice to crops, to new crops, diversify the agriculture basket? How do you incentivize farmers to diversify? In the absence of a minimum support price, the question that is often asked is, what happens when markets crash? Last week, for example, the quinoa crop in Punjab crashed and the farmers were destroying their crop because they were not getting their price. How do you then motivate them, incentivize them to diversify their crop and raise their incomes?
There are different ways. Ultimately, farmers' income need to go up, right? That's what we are concerned with. Now, in high-value commodities, incomes can be much higher than in basic staple crops like wheat and rice. Same per hectare. If you are having a poultry farm or a fish pond or a fruit or vegetable, the normal profits would be much higher. But there is a volatility, and that you are right. So there could be compensation during special years. Quinoa can be selling at 10 rupees a kg also, and it could be 30 rupees, 40 rupees a kg also. So the price stabilization fund that you talked about can help. Easiest way, you can give an income support to the farmers.
So you're talking about an income support, a price stabilization fund as the real solution. Could that then become the basis of a dialogue between government and protesting farmers? Because otherwise, the scenes that we've seen in the last couple of years, it seems will almost keep repeating because there is a deadlock.
You know, that's one way to proceed. My own understanding, and I've studied global literature and I've worked on 40 countries' agriculture, country after country has come out of price support operations because they are distorting the markets. And the inefficiency that is built up in that is costing the economy hell. Country after country has gone in for direct income support to the farmers on per hectare basis. And then, you know, they will say, okay, China, for example, it gave $22 billion worth of support to its farmers. But they say aggregate input support, and they can buy anything from fertilizers to power to seeds or pesticides with that money. But then the prices will be market determined. And that's the way to go. Otherwise, whether it is fertilizer or food, when you highly subsidize, it leads to massive diversion, massive inefficiency, massive corruption in the system. So price support operations have to be minimized, and the way for that is price stabilization fund, and gradually you have to move to income support, investment support.
Should the initiative for these reforms, Dr. Gulati, start from states? That if there are farm laws, for example, which the government rolled back, which you believe are useful, should a BJP-ruled state now tomorrow show a model wherein these laws work effectively so that some of the apprehension fears of the farmers are dispelled? That's the way forward again.
You know, many states are already doing it. Okay, there was a law, that farm law repealed on contract farming. Do you think contract farming is not going on in the country? You go in Maharashtra, there are several cases of contract farming. Even in Punjab, Bharti Airtel has been doing business in agriculture, contracting with the farmers. Even in West Bengal, Pepsi has been doing with potato farmers contract farming. So they are going ahead. But if you don't have an overarching, law at a central level, then naturally the pan-India strategy cannot be worked out by big investors because it requires building proper value chains. That is the issue. And who is going to invest? The farmers cannot invest in the entire value chain. So that law, but what you are talking MSP is a central subject. The food procurement is a central subject. Fertilizer subsidy is a central subject. One possibility is, okay, this is what we are spending. This is the kitty. We give it to the states on certain basis and let the states do whatever they like. If they want to give a higher price, if they want to give a legal, backing to MSP in Punjab, let them do it. And then you see all the buyers will shift to, UP and nobody will buy from Punjab. What will happen then?
But Dr. Gulati, there seems to be a basic lack of trust between the farmer unions, especially of Punjab and the government. How do you eliminate a trust deficit? What will it take, in your view, to convince the farmers that really that the farm laws are in their interest, according to you? Unless you build this trust factor, how are we going to move forward? What is the way forward then?
One thing you have to take, one is the economic part, which I can explain, right? I know farmers are not doing very great, but they are not doing very bad even. Okay, so 3.5% rate of growth in agriculture has been going on. You can do it a little better, but agriculture cannot fly at 7-8%, maybe in one state or other. Prime Minister Modi, when he was the chief minister, Gujarat agriculture grew at 9.2% per annum for 13 years when Mr. Modi was the chief minister. After that, Madhya Pradesh has done it. But, Punjab agriculture is growing at 2% per annum. So you need to move to a different basket. Wheat and rice cannot give you much. It was needed in 60s and 70s. Today you have surpluses of rice and nobody wants it. You dump it on the government, and what will government do? Distribute free. Reforms have to start actually with public distribution system. You give them the food coupons, let them buy 10 commodities, 15 commodities, whether you want pulses or oil seeds or, edible oil or anda or milk, let them buy that. Why do you force them to take only wheat and rice? That's the problem. Then everything gets skewed on wheat and rice. And wheat and rice cannot increase the farmers' incomes. Remember this. You have to move to high-value agriculture, diversify. Otherwise, be ready to give more income support. Let every in Punjab, paddy production gets 30,000 rupees per hectare subsidy from free power and subsidized fertilizers. If he is growing pulses or oil seeds, he doesn't need that much of fertilizer, he doesn't need that much of water. Why don't you give to the pulses producers or oil seed producer 25,000 rupees per hectare to create a crop neutral incentive structure? That is what would be rational.
I sense, of course, your desire to put economics above politics. But the fact is, sir, there is politics in these protests as well. We are in an election year. Whether it's the Congress, which is saying if we come to power, we'll give this minimum support price. Whether the BJP under Mr. Modi said we will double farm incomes, which has not happened. Do you, Mr. Gulati, maybe want to play the role of some of these suggestions being used that you put in this show to break the deadlock? You can bridge the divide.
I'm an economist. Politicians can promise the moon. We have seen it in the past. We are seeing it today. Some political party announces we can do this, we can do that. Well, all this report was with you for all these years. Why didn't you do at that time? So when you're out of power, it's a different game. When you want to give and sell dreams, it's a different game. Politics is a very different animal. I'm not fit for that, but I know I have spent 40 years for the benefit of farmers, not just in this country, but several countries I have worked on agriculture. And whatever best I have learned, I can share. But politics, the ruling party and the opposition parties, they have to deal with it. I'm not
Professor
the right person
Gulati,
for
you know,
that.
this last 20 minutes has been an education for a number of our viewers, hopefully, who need to understand more about the challenges of a legal guarantee of a minimum support price and the alternatives that might exist to try and avoid a confrontation between farmers and the government. At the end of the day, all we want to see is our farmers increasing their incomes. Thank you very much, Professor Gulati, for joining me. I hope those suggestions that you made are incorporated in any dialogue. Let's take a break at this point. When we return, our other top story. Five-time Lok Sabha MP Sonia Gandhi files a Rajya Sabha nomination from Rajasthan. Is that the end of the road for Sonia Gandhi's electoral career? Back in a moment.
Pure Wash Electronic Seat by Kohler. Wish everything was this intelligent.
Get ready for an immersive journey into the heart of news, politics, and insights that matter. Join India Today now on WhatsApp. Scan the QR code.
Sveda by Kohler. Wish everything cared for your skin.
Get ready for an immersive journey into the heart of news, politics, and insights that matter. Join India Today now on WhatsApp. Scan the QR code.
Colors by Kohler. Makes you wish everything was as vibrant.
Welcome back. Elections to the Rajya Sabha will be held on the 27th of February. The nominations end tomorrow, and today it was Sonia Gandhi taking center stage. The five-time Lok Sabha MP filed her Rajya Sabha nomination for the first time from Rajasthan, a sign that Sonia Gandhi is slowly fading away from electoral politics but wants to keep her presence in parliament intact. Meanwhile, the BJP chief JP Nadda will fight from Gujarat instead of his home state of Himachal Pradesh. And Maharashtra's former Congress Chief Minister turned BJP leader Ashok Chavan has filed his Rajya Sabha nomination from that state. Milind Deora, a recent Shinde Sena member, has also filed his nomination from Maharashtra. So those are some of the key nominees who filed their nominations today. Let's turn from there to our good news today story. Now, in the coming months, if you find yourself moved by the beauty and magnificence of an illuminated old monument anywhere in Kolkata, chances are that Muder Patheria of the Kolkata Illumination Project is behind it. Mudar aims to restore and illuminate more than 500 monuments in a city. What he does today may well spread across the country. Take a look at our good news today story from the City of Joy.
The iconic heritage structures in Kolkata are being lit up. 17 buildings have been restored and illuminated by citizens as part of the Calcutta Illumination Project. The brain behind the initiative is Mudar Patheria, who conceptualized the whole project.
I think these structures needed to be reinvented, and that reinvention could not happen during the day. It could only happen at night. So I saw the operating headroom as phenomenal. The addressable market is phenomenal. I said, if we only light it, not only a new monument will emerge, but a new perception and respect for the neighborhood will happen. And that's really what got me started.
The seeds of the project were sown in September last year, when Petria noticed the iconic dome atop Maniktala market in darkness.
I have faced surprisingly no obstructions. And I can't believe why I didn't do this 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Or maybe 10 years ago I didn't do it because of the high cost of halogens. Now the world of halogens has been replaced by the world of LEDs. An entirely new world has emerged, which is more flexible and definitely lower in cost. So I think we are at the right place and at the right moment.
Since the launch of the project, heritage buildings like the Sacred Heart Church, Geological Survey of India and the Royal Insurance Building have been lit up.
What is it that you can do with heritage structures which are beautiful and are in your city but sadly cannot be seen when it turns night? Calcutta Illumination Project is one such kind of an initiative that is happening by the residents of Kolkata, where they are looking at one beautiful heritage structure. They are completely restoring it, repainting it and also illuminating it with LED lights. With camera person Shyam Chandra Ghosh, this is Suryagni Roy for India Today, Kolkata.
The city of joy being illuminated. Let's leave it there. Up next is Gaurav Sawant with India First. For all of you who have been watching, good night, goodbye, Shubhratri, Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Get ready for an immersive journey into the heart of news, politics, and insights that matter. Join India Today now on WhatsApp. Scan the QR code.
Pure Wash Electronic Seat by Kohler. Wish everything was this intelligent.
Get ready for an immersive journey into the heart of news, politics, and insights that matter. Join India Today now on WhatsApp. Scan the QR code.